Education, in its true sense, is essentially a tool to expand human perception, if possible, consciousness. But today, the societies have chosen to use education only as a tool to produce cogs for the larger machine. Individual human beings are being molded to serve the so-called larger purpose of industrial conglomerates or communities or even nations. These goals that people are forced to serve, and they're molded just for that, they may not mean much to the individual person, but he's not given an option even to think about it. Because this is coming from a mindset. We do not believe that it is only by producing great people that you will create a great society, not the other way around. But right now we think by having a great system, we are going to produce great people. Yes, it is true, by having a great system, we can produce efficient people, we can have certain things going without disturbance, but we don't produce great people, humanity doesn't truly move ahead with this. So education, which is essentially a human thing, no other creature on this planet needs education as we do. This is because every other creature on this planet, nature has drawn two lines for it. Within or between these two lines, they have to make their life. But for the human being, nature has drawn only one line, the bottom line. There is no top line. The Homo sapien comes with limitless possibility. Exploring this possibility is the fundamental goal of education as a basic process. For example, if a tiger is born, a tiger has to just eat well to become a good tiger. But that's not the case with you. You're born as a human being. To become a good human being, how many things you have to do? After doing all those things, you still don't know where you stand. When you are just about thinking you're doing great, your teenage son or daughter will come up and say, you're no good. It's not happened to you already, it will happen. Because what is human is not defined. It is not a product that you can manufacture in an education factory. Education can at the most, in its purest form, has to be just a nourishment for the human being to reach his ultimate potential. Not about molding him for this or that. Yes, for immediate purposes, we have to cater to the social needs of that society in which we exist. But never the fundamental goal of education should be compromised for the immediate compulsions that a particular society has. Faith. Faith as we know it today has divided humanity, and it's very hard to fix it. It has made humanity into fragments that are very, very hard to bring them… My microphone. Now, faith has been, unfortunately, one of the most incisive tools for the growth of imperialism on this planet. Faith has produced maximum number of extremist elements on the planet, and much violence has happened in the name of faith. Or whatever we are seeing as faith today. So what is this all about? Is faith some kind of a rubbish that we don't need? No. When human society is so steeped in it, keeping it aside, saying, this is some rubbish, put it on the carpet and go ahead with your education is not going to work. It needs to be looked at, it needs to be addressed. The nature of human intellect is such, it naturally wonders. It has a certain sense of quest and seeking, which faith is trying to silence. If you silence this, you will silence all human potential, and you will have obedient people, of course. What we need is not obedience, what we need is brilliance. If we have to make every human being fire with his genius, a certain atmosphere is needed, which we have still not able to create in the nation at large. Here and there are a few crucibles doing these things, but nation at large, unfortunately, does not have that possibility. The world at large does not have this possibility because people are always trying to mold a child. I always ask people, tell people, when a child is born in your house, do not assume it's time to teach, it's time to learn. Oh, what is there to learn from a child? The simple thing is just this, between you and your child, who is more joyful? Definitely your child. So who should be the consultant for life? Definitely your child. It is just that with limited goals that you take up, they have become larger than life. One book against the other. We don't just burn each other's books, we burn people. This has been happening for too long. If this has to go, faith has to mature in the sense. Faith is essentially not about being senseless. It is a recognition that there is an intelligence beyond our own limited sense in the universe. Recognizing that there is a larger intelligence and finding ways and means to access that is what faith is about. But right now, it has ended up as rigid dogmas. It is time that we encourage, our education system should encourage what it means to long in seeking to know. If you destroy this longing within a human being, it is a natural force. It will only die if you give them ready-made answers. When we started this Isha homeschool, the first thing people asked is, Sadhguru, are you going to teach our children spirituality? I said, spirituality is only for idiots like you. Children don't need it. If you leave them uninfluenced, if you just protect them and nurture them to their fullest possibility, how can human intelligence not wonder, what is this life about? Where did I come from? Where will I go? What is the nature of my existence? How can human intelligence not wonder unless you have a stupid answer written somewhere? Unless somebody has indoctrinated you with some silly stuff in your head, it is very natural for every human being to wonder about this, and if this happens, the children, the human beings are naturally spiritual, because spirituality is not a set of dogma, it is this wonder and longing to know. If this longing to know has to be nurtured not only in education, also in the religions of the world. When 80% of human population is engaged in some organized faith system, no education can happen ignoring that. Right now, our idea of so-called secularism is ignore all that and just go on by yourself. How can you produce a mature worldview in the mind of a child if you ignore 80% of people's involvement in something which means a lot to them? When 80% of the population is involved, you cannot ignore it. So, should we teach faith in the school? Yes, but all the major faiths must be brought into the acquaintance of every child on the planet. Let them out of their own intelligence see what they're saying, and let faith not be an imposition by a family or a community. Let every individual choose what they want to do. In the same family, if multiple faith forms or forms of worship exist, the point of conflict or the area of conflict definitely will diminish. And this is what is needed, because what should have been an ultimate unifying force has become a very divisive process. So, should education nurture this or not? I would say you must nurture this, but not indoctrination. Every child should be exposed to what is it that these so-called great books that so many people worship more than their own life, they value it more than their life. What is it? At least in the simplest form, every religion or every faith, what they're saying, every child on the planet should be acquainted with. And when time comes, if he must belong to some group or some form, it is for him to choose. It need not be imposed by the parents or by the immediate society around them. If this choice is brought, if this education is brought into the normal education system itself, definitely we would use education as a tool for human growth rather than turning out parts for a larger machine. Because a human being may have to serve some needs of the society and the nation and things. But societies and nations were made for individual human beings' well-being. Human beings were not born for the well-being of the nation. When a crisis comes, yes, we feel like that. But if everything is well, which should be, nations were created so that people can live well. Communities were created so that people can live well. It is always the individual human being who is the main focus, and education, which has such an important role in the making of a human being, must focus on this. It does not matter, right now we need engineers, okay, we have to produce some, we need doctors, we have to produce some, but above all, producing great human beings must be the basic goal of education. In Isha, we took this up about 10 years ago, and I made this education in 3 different ways. They showed it in a different form, but we went for Isha Vidya schools, which are rural schools. Here the main concern is just this: people are trapped in an economic and social pit that by themselves they can never come out. So they need an education, they need a passport which will carry them out of their little pit. So I thought the most important passport today for them is English language and computer literacy. So at the age of 6, you will see about 60% of the children who are in these schools are first of children going to school. Their parents have never been to school. But you will see at the age of 7, all of them speaking fluent English. And they know how to operate a computer, they know how to open this, open that, make a file on the computer, this kind of things at the age of 7, because I am seeing that education as just a passport out of their poverty and so. The next level of education is Isa homeschool, which is for the affluent, people who can afford a certain level of, affluence is possible for them, and children naturally want to be in a certain atmosphere because they've grown up in a certain atmosphere, but inculcating a completely different value system, in the sense, this school is run by 100% volunteer teachers. 20 children live in a household with a couple who are dedicated to them, so 12 years they are with them. All the classes, everything largely till 8th standard happened within the home. Only for the playground, library and the lab, they go out to the main building. Otherwise, this is a grandmother school where everything happens right there. A child should not be carrying bundles of books and going somewhere like a laborer, it's almost like a bundle of bricks that he is carrying up and down every day. All the joy is squeezed out of him. With this joylessness, with no sense of life, no sense of involvement in any life around them, either it's plant life or animal life or human life or just nature around them, all that you see today is their books. If books give a break, a computer or a cell phone, this is where we are. We're trying to look at the world not through our eyes, but through the Nokia eye or whatever you're using, whatever is the popular thing, Samsung I think now. We are singing a swan song to life because there is no involvement and engagement with life. You may produce a computer whiz kids out of this. That may be economically, in terms of economics, it may be of some value, they may build something, whatever, all that is fine. But life does not happen because of gadgets. Life does not happen because we built something. Life truly happens because we built this one into a phenomenal process. The individual person has grown within himself. That is what makes life. Buildings have grown, this will not make life. Other things have happened, that will not make life. This one has grown. That is what makes life. And that should be the focus, and this is a 7-day school. So, when children came to me, the first batch, I asked them, do you want a break every week? They said, yes, of course, Sunday is holiday, isn't it? I said, why? What do you want to break from? The monotony of education. I said, if it's monotonous, I'll close it because I hated going to school and I don't want you to hate being in the school. So at length I spoke to our volunteer teachers. None of them were trained teachers. They are doctors, engineers, accountants, all kinds of people, but not teachers. As a rule, I said no trained teacher should come into this school because they are going to vomit something that they gathered from somewhere. When I went to school as a child, my basic contention was, why am I listening to somebody talking about something which doesn't mean a damn thing to him? I don't care what nonsense somebody is talking, as long as it means something to the man who is speaking. It doesn't mean anything to them, they're just vomiting something that they read elsewhere, I'm supposed to listen, so I'm always out of the window. So our teachers asked Sadhguru, this is a tall order, how do we fulfill this? How do we know that we are even successful? I said, see, this is a residential school, they have 4-month terms and 2 months and 2 months vacation in between. When they leaving the school at the end of 4 months, when they come to the school, if they come joyfully, and when they're leaving the school, if they're crying, that means you've done well. If it's reverse, then we must look at ourselves, we're not doing something right. Because today, you must see this happening, this is the most wonderful thing, I could have never imagined doing this when I was in school. Today, a whole lot of children come 15 days, 20 days early to the school to set up the school by themselves. We tell them, why don't you stay with your parents? No, they're eager to set up the school. So because they believe this is something that they have to create every day. On certain days, unannounced, they have to manage the whole school. Today, the students are going to manage the whole school, the office, the finance and everything. Somebody is watching from a distance, but it is all in their hands. Just that sense of responsibility and ownership of the school, the way they enjoy the school, every time I step into the school, I always wonder, why the hell nobody provided me a school like this? Because this is what is needed, an engagement, an inspiration. Right now, education is just a heap of information. If it's a heap of information, naturally, if a teacher is a heap of information and not an inspiration, naturally my internet is more reliable and more informed than my teacher. Unless the teacher has something to deliver other than information, unless the teacher is able to make your hair stand on the end, if he doesn't do that, he or she doesn't do that, then my internet is definitely more reliable. A book is more reliable than a teacher, for sure. So, this transformation needs to happen, that education needs to become inspiring, not just a bundle of information. Sanskriti is a completely different affair. They come at the age of 6 and leave at 18. The parents have to commit that they have to go through this. And there is no formal education here. They learn only 6 subjects. They learn English language, which is the passport to the world. They learn Sanskrit language for a different reason. They learn yoga, not the kind of yoga that you learn in the studios, a completely different dimension of yoga, which is understanding the cosmic geometry and linking how the human body is a product of the cosmos. The whole yogic science in a very elaborate way, in an experiential way. They learn classical music, classical dance and Kalaripayattu, which is the martial art. After 4 years of study, they will drop 2 subjects and continue with 4. After another 2 or 3 years, depending on the development of the child, they will drop 2 more and they become experts in any 2. This also includes traditional medicine like Ayurveda, Siddha. At the age of 16, they know more about the human body and what they could do with it than you would say somebody who's gone through 4 years of medical college, because they are steeped in it from the age of 6, they're learning it in an experiential way. These children are not made for the university. They're for the universe, because we have to live in the universe. If somebody lives in the university, if he's an academic, it's okay, otherwise it means he's not able to get out. That's not a good thing. So, we have to gear our children for the world, not for our narrow goals of today, we need this kind, that kind, no. If you produce great human beings, great things will happen in a society. Great things need not necessarily be in the existing mold. Always something else could be done, something else that could be done if human genius is constantly encouraged rather than being imposed upon with enormous information which is of no use at all over a period of time. As modern technology develops, as information becomes universally available to everybody, going to the school and college for 25 years and gathering so much information is absolutely useless, because somebody who is illiterate will open this and tell you the same thing upon his phone. So gathering of information as a form of education, which is what we have seen in the last 5 decades, this has to go. We need an inspiring way of educating our children. I would… any kind of question if you have, please. Please take the microphone, please. I'm sorry?
Isha system only, so they cannot fit into the universities or modern day living or living that is wanted by the society. You are creating your own human beings.
No, don't conclude, you ask a question.
Yes, the question is, are they not…
Yes. Are they becoming an exclusive society by themselves? That's a question. You're in Chennai, all right? Chennai is the center of music and dance. So there are a whole lot of music teachers, dance teachers. Are they exclusive to the society, I'm asking? I'm telling you, you're thinking like this because you're still in the hangover of the past, where your parents told you the most important thing is you must get a job and earn a living. The present parents are not so much telling that, at least those who have reached a certain level of affluence. Parents in other countries like United States, they want their child to become a basketball player, they want their child to become a rock star, they want their child to become something else. So still this poverty consciousness exists, how will I earn my living? When I had wild dreams as a as a young boy, and it continued, I have not dropped them yet, my father used to say, what will happen to this boy? How will he earn a living? There is no fear in his heart. I said, why is fear a virtue? This is coming from the fear, how will I earn my living? When an earthworm with a millionth of your brain can earn a living, why can't a human being with such a big brain earn his living? Earning a living will not even be an issue for somebody who has a spark of genius in him, and that's not even a concern. I have not earned my living all my life, even today. But somebody will always give me the best food possible, okay? I'm not concerned where is my next meal, because I'm busy creating what I want to create. So will everybody survive like this? Yes. Why not? Human beings, ultimately, you do well in this world, not because of your qualification or your concern for your well-being. You will do well because you're able to do something that most people are not able to do. Yes or no? These are children who will do things. The focus is on growing the human body and the human brain to its ultimate possibility without any imposition. You must see these children. I must tell you, if it means something to you, let me tell you. I went there, about 8 months ago this incident happened. The first batch of children reached 15 years of age. I was to initiate them into a meditative process. For 60 days, they remained in silence by themselves. 60 days in total silence. Every day they get up at 3:30 in the morning and do their yoga for about 5.5 hours, then they do their music and stuff and everything. I went there to see them, I went at 3:45 to see them. These children were sitting there. I have never seen children like this. They were sitting there still glowing, literally glowing. I just sat there and cried, because when I was 15, I was not like this. Definitely I was not like this. I was running all over the place not knowing what to do. These kids are so absolutely focused. I must tell you, their intellectual capabilities. You give them anything. Just about a week ago, this music teacher coming and lamenting to me. We are changing our music teachers all the time because they run out of the repertoire with these kids. In her own Tamil, she is saying, Sadhguru, enna pandrathu, oru naalukku oru paat saapidraanga, naan enga povudhu? You understand Tamil? Oru naalukku oru paat saapidraanga. Every day they're eating up one song. Where do I go with these kids? Because tomorrow I look like a fool because they've eaten up all my songs already. Because this is a certain level of genius and every human being is capable of this. And they will not be exclusive to this society. They will be the most inclusive human beings. You must come and see them.
Yeah. I have a question. Here, there is a theological common denominator on the purpose of life that you had mentioned. But at the same time, practicing multiple faith, is it practical? Because multiple faith, in my opinion, can be mutually respected, but singularly practiced. Am I right?
See, I was not talking about practicing multiple faiths. I said, let individuals choose. Why somebody else is trying to indoctrinate them? Just because you have a child and you belong to a certain faith, you don't have to rub it into your child. Let him grow up and make a choice. If you expose all the, whatever the major ones in the world, and say you choose, let him choose according to his intelligence. Or he may combine these five and make his own. Why not? That is what this culture is about. In the same family, 5 people are worshipping 5 different gods and goddesses, there is no issue, isn't it? There's never been an issue in this country. It's only recent. These problems are very recent for us, otherwise there's never been an issue. Within one family, is it not common? Different people are worshipping different gods and goddesses and they're perfectly fine. Yes or no? And it's good. Let it be individual choice. Why should a community or a family, just because somebody happens to make the mistake of born with you, somebody made the mistake of being born to you, you don't have to rub everything that you believe in. Your child has to be a new possibility, not just a repetition of who you are.
Swamiji, vanakkam. What about the importance of mother tongue of your curriculum? Mother tongue.
Yes, I understand. They do learn Tamil, they do learn to read and write Tamil, the Sanskriti. In the home school, of course, they can choose either Hindi or Tamil or whatever, because that is the board curriculum, okay? That goes by the government's rules, not by us. In Tamil and the Isha Vidya schools in the villages, of course, Tamil plays a dominant role, but it's very, very important today. See, the languages that India has is very important, because to produce 1300 languages in a nation, you must understand the complexity of intellect, complexity of the culture, and the exuberant nature of the culture, that right here we can have 1300 languages and live with it and have enormous literature in each one of them. I want you to understand the intellectual strength of the culture. It's a beautiful thing. At the same time, this would have been very easy if we had remained affluent. About 250 or 300 years ago, we were the biggest economy on the planet. If we had maintained that, if the East India Company had not come, this is all wasteful thinking, all right, they came. And if we had remained an affluent nation, then very easily you could have maintained your culture, your language and everything. But right now, the world and the world's economic situation and the distribution of power has so dramatically shifted, the only way you can access it is with English language. If you don't have English language, you will be left out of it. So it becomes very crucial. And will a child master English language, Tamil language, Hindi and everything, as our education system says, 4 languages or 3 language policy? Will a child master all these things? No. He will pick one. Other thing just becomes a minor thing. So I feel the language is very, very precious in our family situations, in our cultural situations. We must keep it alive, very important. But do not impose it in the education, because you will disable the child from being a world player. Being internationally relevant will go away if you speak in your own language or my own language.
I have something to put by way of information. As you are aware, the CBSE prepares a syllabus based upon the recommendations of the NCERT. About religions and faiths, a recommendation was made in the year 2000 that basics of all religions must be taught to every child. They should know the commonalities and learn two differences. And teachers had to be prepared very specifically. This particular recommendation was criticized as communalization, saffronization and Hinduization. It went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court gave a judgment on 12th September 2002, and it said, every child knowing the basics of all the religions of the people of India will strengthen secularism. It will bring social cohesion. It will bring religious amity, and this should have been done 50 years ago. They also said that the teaching of values, truth, peace, non-violence, dharma and bhaichara, love, was essential. I had the privilege of directing all these recommendations as the director of the NCERT, but the criticism was so wide that in spite of Supreme Court's order, all this was demolished. May 2004 onwards, I took voluntary retirement. UNESCO had given me an award, they stopped it. I got it by a court, High Court. The point is, how do we proceed to ensure that every child in this country know the basics of our religions and the system accepts it? Unless until the system accepts it, sporadic initiatives as yours, there are others also with which I am familiar, they will have only limited impact. So some strategy has to be found out, whereby the highest court of India has said this will strengthen secularism, but the politician doesn't agree, and the whole thing is dumped. I have been trying for the last 10 years, spreading this in my lectures, in my writing, everywhere. And I am deeply impressed by what you have said, but my concern is, how do we proceed further? Thank you.
This is an unfortunate reality we are facing, where you need to probably, can't help play into a little populism when you want to win an election. Once you win the election, your focus and your commitment should be to do what is right for the nation, not doing what is right for a particular electorate who voted you there. This is feudalism. Your mama gave you money to stand for election, so you appoint your mama as the director of education board, though the guy is illiterate. So this is feudalism. We are continuing feudalism in many different ways, not truly taking to democratic ways. So the leadership, unfortunately, has not had the courage because they have no conviction that in the next 5 years, I will do so many right things that people will have no other choice but me. This conviction is not there, this vision is not there. They know what they're going to do most of the time, and they know people will not like it, and the only way is to cater to certain things. This has been the unfortunate reality of our nation. It is, so many of you here and the young people, it is the need of the hour that we insist that leaders should do what is right, not catering to this or that, not what is right for the larger good of the nation has to be done. What can we do about it as citizens of this nation? I think, as you said, you've been speaking everywhere. Similarly, now there's a media house behind this. We need to campaign, because democracy is always about campaign. It is not something that I said it, so it didn't happen. We have to campaign endlessly. We have to campaign till it becomes popular.
So, you have gone through the entire 9 yards, establishing an experiential learning framework for 10 years for the kids, right? And it works. And how hard would it be to take the essence of the current education system and bring in some science, maths aspects of it and integrate it into your experience?
It is already there. It is already there in the form of workshops. They don't study science as other children would study, but now they are trying to understand how an internal combustion engine works. They learn science like this. Today it is raining, so they go out into the forest getting soaked in the rain, the chemistry of the rain, the biology of the rain, the economics of the rain. We are in a place where it rains 5 months in a year, so we always use the rain as a way to teach physics, biology, this, that, everything. That they know enough about it. But they are not going to do MSc in physics for sure. But if they want to, they can go to open school and always do it. Because they're going to come out of this at the age of 16. They can go to open school, and a few students have chosen that, and we are supporting them, that we are, giving on the side tuition to take the open school exam for 12th standard. So if they do that, they may go to the university too if they wish, because some parents are insistent they must have a formal education, so we provide that. But the important thing is, a child's body and its brain should develop to the fullest before he is 16 years of age. If this doesn't happen, you have an underdeveloped human being and you're trying to make him run a race. See, if you want to do well in anything, suppose you want to compete in a race. Suppose you're in let's say a car race. How well prepared your machine is everything, isn't it? So you want to be in the world and do something at a higher level than people who do things just for earning a living. First thing is, how is your body, how is your brain? Yes or no? I have no formal education behind me. I look uneducated, all right for you, because I don't wear English clothes. But it's fine, doors open for me anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter which university, whatever, it's by choice that I don't go. But otherwise every university is open. Why? Why they want to listen to an uneducated man? Because every human being is capable of a certain dimension of genius. Our education systems have become factories, not nurturing gardens. But because that will not happen in a careless manner. If you want to create a nurturing garden, you need gardeners who love and who care. Without that, You can't just say, okay, this year 50,000 students went through our school. With this you can't do that. But right now, there is an economic need. There is a certain level of poverty which we have to cater to. Somehow, you have to get people employed, make them earn their living. Because we are still in that condition, this looks fanciful. But you will see, we want India to be in a place, as even our young people were wishing, in another 10-15 years, if India is in a place where a whole mass of people will move out of their poverty, that poverty will not be a badge that they carry, as they're doing right now. They will move out of it and they're doing well by themselves, then you will see the aspiration of the parent will change. They want their children to become full-fledged human beings. They don't care whether he goes to a job at 20 or 25 or 30. They're willing to give a little more room for him.
Pranam Swamiji, my name is Satish Prem and I am a final year law student at School of Law, Sastra. And my question is with regard to the comparative religious study scheme that you have proposed. Swamiji, certain faiths have proposed
Let me correct the question. I did not say comparative.
Okay, exposure to faith or exposure to all faiths that are in the world.
Because I am correcting you, because it's not just a word. The moment you bring comparison, you will bring conflict.
Precisely, Swamiji. And the question is, some faiths have in their core ideologies tenets which subscribe to policies of intolerance, xenophobia and apostasy. When we actually give these ideas to young and impressionable minds, wouldn't it be a sort of corruption? Because Richard Dawkins and others have advocated that comparative religious study or religious exposure of any kind at a curriculum basis in a syllabus to school children is corruption and it would lead to intoleration. Let them choose. It's the home and it's the parents' duty to actually put the faiths and it is them to take it or leave it.
I don't know who I don't know who Mr. Richard is.
He's an Oxford professor.
It doesn't matter. But he doesn't live in this world, that much I know. Because if he lived in this world, if he walked on the street, you understand religion is a part of every nation. Religion is a part of huge populations on the planet. Whatever said and done, carried in their hearts. You can't ignore that completely and do your education and think these people you will produce very mature human beings. You will not. And anyway they're getting indoctrinated elsewhere. But if they knew what all is being taught in different places, they will make their choice. Some may make wrong choices or right choices. It's left to them. At least let it be left to individual intelligence rather than being indoctrinated by somebody who is already converted into something, already committed his life for all the wrong reasons. He's not committed himself to something out of his intelligence. He belongs to this because he was born in this, isn't it? Let there be a choice. The fundamentals of modern societies, the fundamentals of a democratic society is just this, that your life and the way you live should not be determined by who your father was. It is determined by who you are. In this direction, who you are should be determined by you, not by somebody else.
Swamiji, my question is about the role of institution building in India. You said, and Mr. Gurumurthy also mentioned, that we were amongst the richest nations about 300 years ago. But today, millions are in poverty today. So the role of institution building, which can move or uplift people out of poverty, that should be one of the important focus areas. Don't you think, sir?
Definitely we are… The problem with India is there's too much genius and not enough organization. We are very bad organizers. What I see is, you know, I'll just give this as an example. We're building a large yoga center in United States, in Tennessee. Tennessee means it'll raise eyebrows for people who know what Tennessee is, because it's a hardcore religious area where nothing else can exist. Just about 8 years ago, a Buddhist center was burned down. This is how it is. Very hardcore, but we do well there. People ask me, Sadhguru, how do you survive in this place? I'm the darkest skin in that town even today. Anybody darker than me cannot live there. Do you understand? This is a place where till late 60s, lynching happened just on the basis of your race. So this is really rural Tennessee. It's a fabulous place because we're in the Smoky Mountains. But this is the kind of thing. So when we were setting this up, because our centers are all over United States, people said, Sadhguru, you must come to California, this is the place. In the north, they say, you must come here. Particularly in the north, in Detroit and in that region where we had a large presence, they said, you must start the center here, Sadhguru, don't go to Tennessee. You don't know these people. So I told them, see, I know how to transform people, but I don't know how to change the weather. So don't worry about me. Today, we're very popular, the whole community is involved and everything. I must tell you, this is not easy. It takes a certain level of awareness for yourself that it's very important. It is not about tolerating somebody. It is not about respecting somebody. It is just that you don't carry those boundaries within you, which is the most important thing. I'm walking in this street of this little town. One huge man, over 6 feet 5 inches tall, big man, comes and stands just 6 inches away from me, like this, blocking my way like a wall, and looks down on me and says, God loves us. I look at him and say, the way you are, only God can love you. But he doesn't have such an active… It will take some time for him to figure out, but then I'm gone, of course. Why I'm saying this is, it doesn't matter where we are. If we do not carry boundaries within ourselves, it's very easy to be inclusive. There are all kinds of people in the world. But by ignoring it, by putting it under the carpet, you're not going to solve the problem. It's time we address it. When you address it, there seems to be an exaggerated sense of problem for some time because you stirred up the pot. But if you have the vision to see, if every child in this country for the next 50 years is acquainted with every religion on the planet and they start making their own personal choices, you will see a better society for sure. When we were at the Economic Forum, I suggested this, let us start… They were talking about starting a platform for business connections and stuff, and like an internet platform. I said, it's time you have a faith multiplex. Let everybody put their official stuff, a large platform, everybody present it, whatever you want, each individual group. Let people come and choose where they want to go. Why are you so insecure that if you're compared with somebody, nobody will come to you? Is there a problem? If nobody wants to come to you, you must change yourself, isn't it? It is time. It is time when everything is open that this religion alone does not sit somewhere. First of all, religions of the world are not about one man's belief versus another man's belief. This is an opportunity and a possibility for humans of every hue and color, of all stages of evolution, understanding, every stage of evolution, understanding and experience, to reach out towards their common ultimate source. Like many colors of the rainbow are an outcome of one pure source of light. The many religions of the world are just a common expression of… or a multiple expression of one divine source. It is what has happened today, don't go by that. If you go to the source, something happened to people, that's why it grew so big, isn't it? Once it grows big, it goes crazy, that's different.
Swamiji, as you know that in Shiva Stotram they says that Jnana means bandhanam. In today's society, if you see the Gen Next, I teach for last almost 9 years, and if you see the generation is only going for Jnanam, knowledge. In Wikipedia, they will go for first 2 lines and that's all. So how do you think that in a learning process, which is not in a Gurukulam system, how you can bring in the experiential learning as a process of learning rather than going to a knowledge gaining system as such?
See, when you say knowledge, I don't know what Shiva Sutram said because I haven't read any scripture in my life. The only book that I read, I close my eyes and look at this one, because whatever is true for this life is true for every life, that much I know. So, jnanam being a bondage is essentially because what you gather as knowledge, you will get identified with it. Once you get identified with something, your mind works in a whirlpool of… your mind becomes a whirlpool. This very universe, this very cosmos is a living mind. There is an intelligence beyond your understanding. Right now, what did you have for lunch? What did you have for lunch? Huh? Okay, you ate a chicken. You eat a chicken. Over the afternoon, this chicken has transformed itself into a human being within you. You ask Charles Darwin, how long does it take for a chicken to become a human being? He will talk in millions of years. Look at you. Over the afternoon, you can transform a chicken into a human being. There is an intelligence within you. There is a competence within you which can transform a chicken into a human being over the afternoon. This intelligence, if a drop of this intelligence became a conscious process within you, you would live magically, wouldn't you? This is all that needs to happen to the human being, because the whole cosmos is an endless pool of intelligence. The problem with the world is this. People have been told, God is generosity. This means something only if you are poor. If you're doing well, who cares if God is generous? People have been told God is love. If you're having a great love affair in your life, are you looking up for a ray of love to come from heaven to you? Only if you have gotten yourself into a hole where you have no love in your life, then you're looking up. If you're full of love in your life, are you looking up for love? Somebody told you God is compassion. If you've fallen, God being compassionate is very important. You're standing on your own 2 feet, full of pride, do you care if God is compassionate or not? All these things are relevant to particular people when they're in particular situations. But if you don't listen to any teaching, if you pay attention to creation, your idea of God has entered human mind only because you have no explanation for the large creation which is around us, isn't it? If you pay attention to a leaf, to a blade of grass, to an insect, to an ant, or to yourself, or even to a single atom, it smacks of intelligence beyond your comprehension. But nobody said God is intelligence. If you had said that, we would have had a more sensible world.
Sadhguruji, I have a slightly different question. Well, how would you have a school where there are three different types of schools you're running. And what would happen if some of these children turned out to be special children?
Okay, with all due respect for that, and Vasudha is here, she's going to film that because we have this is controversial, but let me say it anyway. Vasudha won't like it, but she's going to catch me in the video, that's fine. See, it's very important. With all sensitivity to the child, you call the child special because something has been missing in the child. And calling him disabled or crippled is a cruel thing. So you want to enhance his thing so that he is encouraged to make an attempt, because his attempt has to be a bigger striving than a normal child to do the same things. So as an inspiration you say that, but within yourself stop believing that this is a special child. Every defect that happens in the manufacturing process of a human being, in the mother's womb, if a mother is in a bad state of mind, something could go wrong with the child. If the mother is bitten by a scorpion, it can happen. If mother had a mild electric shock, a child could get twisted out a little bit. There's so many things, okay? An infection could do this, so many things. Today we know all this. If this happened, it is a fault in the manufacturing process. If it happened, if you think a defect is special, you're going to encourage that. Today, it is happening in the Western world in a big way. Almost every child carries a tag. Every child is defective, some name they got. From A, D, D, whatever to Z, they have some name for every child. Don't catalog children like this. They've come the way they've come. We do the best that we can do so that at his level he is at his best. You don't have to make him a cripple, you don't have to make him special, you just have to address him the way he is within yourself. To tell the child you are wonderful, you're the most special, you fell out of the… you're a piece of star or moon, that's up to you. Because the child needs an inspiration and encouragement. But for the policymakers and others to believe this is a special child is a very wrong thing. Right now you will not realize this, in another 25 to 50 years you will see, people will start saying, this is the way to be. Because everybody wants to be special. In this country, do you know, a whole lot of communities are fighting to be backward. Similar things will happen.
Namaste, Swamiji.
I'm sorry, let me answer this question. So, will special children have this? We just have one girl, the parent is with us, so we took this girl. We are not equipped that way to take these children with such issues. But we took one child with Down syndrome because no other school would take her and the mother was single and she couldn't go anywhere. We said, okay, let her be here. I said, let's take this girl and see what we can do. You must come and see her. In 5 years, how this girl has blossomed. A whole lot of people in the yoga center, when they look at her cycling joyfully, wanting to dance, okay, she was not going to be a great dancer, but you can't stop her from dancing. Everybody cries just looking at her effort and the joy she has, that she's treated as level, no special graces for her, she has to go with everybody. We know she cannot run with everybody, she can't do things with everyone, but in her mind she's as good as anyone, which is what matters.
Sadhguru, if I may interrupt,
Last question
we're running
maybe.
short of time.
Yeah, last question maybe.
Could we do last couple of questions, Sadhguru? Last couple of questions.
Couple or one?
Last one?
Oh, no, I'm asking you, you're the boss.
Last couple of questions that we'll take, yeah.
Namaste, Swamiji. The way I summarized the previous debate was that, let's say there are few leaders right now and then many managers. So there are few leaders right now, one in every field, let's say, or some few in every field. So there are some visionaries now. They have their own vision for the country now. Let's say like you had your own foundation with some idea and then you are nurturing a lot of students. So there are visionaries, there are like few implementations being done. Okay. Now my question is, how do we scale it up from, let's say, 10 lakh beneficiaries to 1.2 billion beneficiaries? So the first question is, how do we scale it up? The model. We can go on and on about debating, be it top to bottom or bottom to top. That's not the question. How do we scale it up? That's the first question. Second question is, how do we do it rapidly?
Oh, both a couple of questions you're only taking?
No, I'll pass it on, but then the question is, how do we scale up and then how can we do it rapidly? Yes, thank you.
See, about the debate itself, I mean, I like the spirit behind the debate, but this has been our essential problem. There has neither been insight, nor integrity, nor inspiration in the leadership of this nation. This is a fact that we have to face. There is no need to gloss over that. That is because we have lived under invasions for over 1,000 years. Always every parent told every child for generations in the past, don't raise your head. You go finish your business and come down. Nobody should notice you. That's how you should live. You see this even today in villages and small towns, always parents advising, don't stick out, just finish your job and come back. Some problem on the street, don't put your hand into it, just come back home. It's not your issue. This has happened because the head that stood up was always knocked out. So we still have that syndrome. The new generation who do not know much about how we lived before 1947 in this country, they've dropped that syndrome. Now leaders will come. But the question is, are our educational institutions producing leaders? I'm sorry, leaving the debate aside, no means no. 100% no. Leaders have happened because individual human beings will stand up and do things. Is there a conscious effort to generate powerful leaders? We must first of all understand, Right now we're in the process of doing a leadership movement in the country, and we're having plans to build a leadership academy. So I charted out 11 layers of leaders that we need in a nation. A leader does not necessarily mean a prime minister, a chief minister. These people will come 5 years and they're gone 5 years or whatever. We need solid leaders at many layers of society. From anybody who can meet 10 people in a day, either they can impact them positively or just let it loose. See, please understand, we are always thinking of corruption as somebody who stole from the nation. No, people who did not do anything are also corrupt. You stand on a pulpit, you hold a responsibility, you did not fulfill that responsibility, that's corruption. It's not that you have to take a bag of money home. You sat there quietly without doing… As a parent, suppose you have children, as a parent, you did not do what's needed for the children. Are you not corrupt? So as a minister, as a bureaucrat, as a chief minister, prime minister, if you do not do what is truly needed, that is corruption. So in this context, we need to build many layers of leadership. If some incident happens on the street, 1,000 people will gather, everybody is an onlooker, nobody acts. In some pathetic situations, really, where very easily an individual person can finish it, you don't have to wait till 1,000 people gather. Somebody falls in the street, the first man who sees can act. But no, why should we touch it? No, because always, for generations we've been taught, do not do anything more than what is needed, otherwise you're in trouble. Because we have been an occupied nation for too long. Now that syndrome has to be dropped and we have to generate leaders, and definitely educational institutions have a very significant role to play. These days, many of them are beginning to transform themselves towards leadership. Otherwise, it is a fact that we produce a lot of managers, but do not underestimate the managers. If managers are not managing the situation, what the hell is there to lead? There's only chaos to lead. So it's very important. It is not necessary a leader means he will stand up on a high platform and do something. In your own little space, you be a leader. A leader means someone who is willing to think beyond his own personal needs and do what is needed. Not fanciful whim, but what is truly needed around you. Isn't a parent a leader? When they live their whole life thinking what is needed for the child, this is leadership. If the same thing enters every sphere of life, we will have leaders. Leader need not necessarily mean of that size. Let us not always think of mega-sized leaders. All big names came out, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, this, all are great beings, no question. But do not think of leadership on that scale. That is a consequence of a certain situation. Mahatma Gandhi did not imagine, I will become a father of the nation, and every day he is doing mental visualization, one day I must be the father of the nation, that would be horrible. No, he just did what's needed and the situations multiplied and threw him to a place where he did not imagine, all right? So, if you are simply doing what is needed around you joyfully, not doing, enforcing your whims upon people, that's leadership. According to individual capability, each person will rise. So this has to be brought into the education system. Definitely the system right now is functioning more like a factory than a garden that nurtures children into their fullest possibility. Will make you successful. Aspiration is just an initial starting point. Just because you aspire for success, just because you aspire for prosperity, just because you aspire for well-being, it doesn't happen.